It's tabletop time.
Tabletop time.
Oh, the delay. I'm Jazza.
I'm Jen.
I'm Dave.
And I'm Rob.
The delay's not that bad, Rob. Come on.
He's playing with us.
Rob is joining us remotely, and this is our season recap. Very exciting time to recap the 20 episodes of Reboot Chapter 1. But we do have a very exciting announcement to open up with. Starting off with a few exciting announcements, but starting off with the biggest one, we have this super epic. You ready for it? Boom! Reboot poster. Look at it. Just look at it. Isn't it the most beautiful thing ever? Now, this can be yours. We have a website set up. The link is in the description. So go check it out. Anyone who buys one, it will be hand signed by all 4 participants in our Reboot campaign. And it will be sent out in a month or 2. Just a quick interruption here. Initially, I was just going to sell it on this website as the hand signed super special event print. But after the stream we recorded this, enough people were really wanting it, but not able to afford that specific print because it is a special hand signed edition and because postage from Australia sucks. But I've also released another version on Teespring, which you can check out on our merch website. So it's way more approachable price-wise. It's not hand-signed, but it's also not shipped from Australia. And it's available in 2 print sizes. So if you don't want to fork out for the hand-signed super special event one, which will only be available for the next couple of weeks, you can now grab one of the ones from Teespring. But I should also mention that this is a special event and I'll only be selling these posters at the end of every campaign. So if you love it and if you want it, they're your options, and grab one while you can. And of course, any and all support is a huge help to Tabletop Time and being able to do awesome stuff like this in the future. This is a huge commission by Camille Kuo, who has done the season art for Reboot Season 1, and it is just so good. We've got all of the main player characters and also a lot of core NPCs.
All the good ones.
I feel like we need to go through this one by one.
All right.
So top left to bottom right. So we've got
Johnny.
Johnny.
The innocent and clearly human Johnny.
Freaking love it. Then Pro, I like how we really tried. Well, there was a lot of back and forth in this, and we wanted to make it amazing and to encapsulate the season. And in doing that, we wanted to capture moments. And Pro's moment specifically was obviously the moment when he was like holding up the gun and told to kill. Spoilers for people who haven't watched the whole season, and we'll get to that later. But anyways.
I would assume.
I would assume if you're watching the recap. So that's Pro's moment. Then moving on to Zhang. She is signing not dead.
She's not dead. And she's
not
telling
dead.
you that you're not dead.
That's it. And then front and center, Eve, the crowd favorite, holding, what is this?
That's a baby.
That's a moment.
Yeah.
That was a moment in the alleyway, the alley baby.
Yes, the gone away baby.
That's it. And then, Dave, have you decided specifically who this is on the right?
I think I'd like people to think about who it is. Do you want me to say who it is?
Yeah, go on.
It's Oscar. So there's a lot of people who could think that might be Isaac because Oscar and Isaac, but that's Seb's dad who played some pivotal roles in the season and represents the wealth and money behind Seb. Notice that he's behind Seb. That's just so pieced together so beautifully.
It really has. Speaking of pieced together, whether beautifully or resistantly. This moment, the handshake.
It's such a scene.
Have you ever seen a mum force their 2 kids to make up more than this right now? It's like, kids, stop fighting and you say sorry.
On the one side, we have Ugly, the ever handsome Ugly, and then we have the pouty Seb, who's like, fine, do it.
But I don't want to.
It looks so sick. It's such an amazing artwork, such an amazing moment captured.
Well,
then we have, on the bottom left, this is Songbird.
The burb.
Another crowd favorite. She's actually, I see this moment.
You're struggling to get that on the camera.
Yeah, I am. Sorry, guys. It's a bit bouncy. The Songbird, for me, this moment is like when she had the interaction with Seb, early on when she got given the fusion.
Yeah, for sure.
So she's holding that because there was that moment where it was like, will she give it back?
Yeah,
that's
was
really cool. Then at the bottom center, we have our villains shrouded in mystery. And on the right, we have a captive. And we actually don't have...
I haven't told you who it is.
Yeah, we don't know.
That is either... Well, I'll tell you, it's either Riley or Maya.
Yeah.
But no one knows.
That's it. That's all we know.
Except me.
Yeah.
I know.
Dave knows. Dave's decided. But all of this is Reboot Season 1. It's such an honor to have an amazing piece of art to tell the whole story we all told together. It's really exciting. And everyone who's followed along with this for all 20 episodes, hopefully you feel as cool about this as we do. And this is something I would really hope to do at the end of all of our major campaign things. So if you want to see this happen in future as well, please consider supporting it. Again, it will be hand-signed by all of us lovingly and gratefully and sent to you. So go check that out. That's a big one.
It's amazing.
I'm
stoked. This is
That's
going to be the first full size. Like this is going to go in our movie room at home.
Oh, what
for
size
sure.
is it available in? Can you get it in
Oh, so we're only selling it in A3.
A3? Yep.
So it's not A4. It's not like it deserves to be bigger.
Yep.
But we can't do bigger than that for shipping from Australia.
Yeah.
Sucks. You will notice that on the website. I apologise. That's not our fault. That's Australia's fault. But we have to ship it from Australia because we're all hand signing it. So unfortunately, that is the way that has to be done.
But at least it's A3, so it's a decent size.
Yeah,
Which is good.
exactly.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Camille Kuo is the artist.
Camille
Kuo.
Kuo. I'll link her in the description of this video as well. So yeah, that is that big announcement.
And I can't believe like where we started to be looking at that at the end of a campaign. I mean, it's pretty cool. It's very cool.
It's very cool.
I get to
Very cool.
I just look at the future and I look at walking down the hall and like movie posters having all the campaigns we play in.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. All right, before we get stuck into it, there is a wiki fueled by the fans. So we're going to jump into a whole bunch of spoilers in this whole video, but go check it out. Links in the description for basically episode recaps, character descriptions, what other sort of stuff do they have in there?
They've actually managed to like troll through and get a whole bunch of art. And when characters, this floored me, when characters that were significant didn't have any official art, like some of the fan artists in the community have just made fan art. Like Conrado had no art, and then they went and I actually got a message that was like, "Can you describe Conrado?" And then they just did fan art. It was amazing.
It's so good. So whether you want to fill in some of the gaps in your understanding of it, or just catch up if you're watching this in the future when we're running season 2, go check out the wiki, links in the description. Thank you to our community for being so supportive and helping build that.
Amazing work.
So we are going to jump into the Q&A of this season. We have questions provided to us from our patrons, and there's a lot to cover there just in bits and pieces, one of which is between the next campaign that we're about to start and now, which is obviously wrapping up Reboot, we're going to run sort of a short form mini campaign called Book.EXE, where we will be delving into actual book narratives that are broken to fix them, and that is currently being voted on by our patrons. So if you want to vote on the books we will be fixing that have been broken, that'll be a really fun sort of mini campaign session that we'll cover for the next few weeks. So go vote on those in Patreon. And also following that, prior to the launch of the next campaign, we'll also be putting out little dribs and drabs of our discussions of the characters we'll make. You'll sort of get updates on the next big campaign coming together early through Patreon.
You'll never see it coming.
I'm so excited. It's so hard to wrap something like this up, but it's so exciting to start a new campaign. Anyone who's ever role played, it's just like, it's hard to let go of a session. We know we'll come back to it. It's hard to let go of a story, but also like it's so fun to start new. So that'll be cool.
You'll see that my mind is too fast for eyes.
All right,
you're done in. Anyway, we'll see.
Let's do it.
Jen knows what I'm talking about.
I'm excited. I can't wait. All right, let's get this party started. Dave, will you do the honors in leading our first question?
This question is from Mac G. What was the biggest character development surprise? And do you think that's one for me to answer?
Do you know what? I feel like you should either answer or assign them.
Some of them are to everyone.
Unless they're directed.
Some of them feel like they're to everyone. I think this one is a very everyone. What was everyone's biggest character development surprise? So if I'm emceeing, then I'll start with Jazza.
Okay.
What was your biggest character development surprise?
Oof, for
anyone. Just at the table, I think it means.
Okay.
I don't even think it needs to be.
Well, then for me, it was when I was most shocked when Eve shot the dude. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
It was just like,
totally.
Because I was feeling as pro very more and more attached to Seb and Eve, and feeling safe in like I can rely on them and trust them, and seeing her do that, I didn't see the protectiveness or the logic that she was going through. I just saw the emotionless action, and Juxtaposed with my hesitation, that one really shocked me. Pro.
Rob.
Oh God, I have so many.
I figured these can probably be NPCs too, like any character's development that shocks you.
Yeah.
I think the poster nailed Seb's biggest scene, to be honest. It's that constant build-up between him and Ugly, and it's just an impasse that neither of them wanted to reach. And then when it did come to a head, I think Seb lost the bargain, lost the trade in that one, and has kind of overcommitted himself in search of his ideals or in search of what he's going for. But, he's made that. He has to live with it. So that was going to have very interesting consequences, I can see, in season 2.
Cool. Jen.
I think for me it was probably Johnny and Incongruent. Like, to play an AI, you don't really know what to expect, and then to have this like weird relationship develop through that was really interesting. I've never actually had that interaction with a roleplay character before, so I think that was really cool.
What interaction specifically? That sort of relationship growth?
Yeah, pretty much. And the fact to have someone care a lot about you that is just an NPC, like obviously with role players or other characters that you have, you can create that experience, but to have it with an NPC is very different as well. It's someone you can rely on as well, which is kind of cool.
I definitely think that coming from a background of mostly Dungeons and Dragons, that NPCs more often than not fall into set dressing category, whereas in a game like Cogent, where we're diving into a campaign that is about interpersonal relationships, that stuff can really flourish, which is cool. It's what I love about it.
Explore different concepts as well, which is really cool too.
Imagine like the games of Vampire and Hunter we played, but played to the standard that we play 100%. At Cogent would be just the plots and stuff. My biggest character development surprise, I guess, look, a lot of the big developments shocked me, but the biggest moment that floored me was the moment that that Pro willingly turned away from any offer of communicating with Oscar and Nyla that first time when they were like, come talk to us, and he's just like, I'm out. That, as like the narrator, just threw me. I'm like, what?
Really?
Because it just blew my mind. I was like, you have been given every single trope of role playing to like carrot lead you into doing something, and you stuck so true to your character that you just said no. It was awesome, but that shocked me the most.
Okay.
Like the Seb development was amazing, but I could see that being an outcome. Whereas that was the one moment where I was just like, wait, what are we doing here?
I think that is something I personally, and I want to move through questions, so I don't want to linger on it too long, but it is something I find really satisfying about that mode of role play is choosing for the character, not for myself. I want the character to succeed, but the characters should be their own worst enemy at times, whether we want them to or not. So that's sort of
just
fun.
Like we all are in real life.
Exactly. Next, we have a Yellheadtress who says, what happened / would have happened if the gang went back to look for the baby in the slums after their mother died? That's a narrator question.
So I guess it comes down to time frame. I guess we're at the end of the season, so I can throw some stuff out there.
Yeah.
That baby is gone. That's not like a plot thread to go down. The baby is gone. What happened to that baby? You'll never know. I prefer not to think about. It's not been taken by the circle. They don't need some malnourished thing. There's no instance where that baby is ever seen again by not only anyone in the plot, but anyone in the remote district. Whoever has it, has it. And it's just gone among the untold millions. Had you guys gone back to look for it almost immediately, you would have found it. Had you gone back, the time frame you'd already left, I'd already worked out in my head the baby was going to survive until the next morning. So as soon as you'd slept, it was dead. Or gone. Not necessarily dead. It was gone.
No, I think you've decided, Dave, you've made it pretty clear that...
Well...
Our narrator's really into...
It's how it died. That's the real question.
There's a lot of dark...
It's not necessarily dead. I'm just saying it was dead to the characters. It was a dead end.
Yep. Ray Naya says, how many times did the players trip up Dave by going in a complete... This is totally on your last, things that shocked you. Different direction than the story was expected, and what would some of the outcomes of those been if they'd gone the way they were expected? So you mentioned that Pro threw you for a turn.
Yeah, that is literally...
It really is. what way did you imagine that going? And maybe a few other examples where it just went in a totally different direction than you were expecting.
I think frequently in this campaign, things have gone in different directions to what I was expecting because people have been playing their characters. And people have been playing their characters.
Sorry to be that guy.
Oh, yeah. People have been playing their characters really well. And God, now the phone's near the mic. People have been playing the characters really well, which means that there's been these moments of like humanity where people are doing things that I didn't expect as a game player or a narrator. So the suitcase was certainly one of them. Pro agreeing to Oscar the second time around was a bit of a surprise how well that went. Sebastian had a couple of moments where for the longest time, I wasn't sure, and I think most of the viewers weren't sure, if Sebastian was playing like the long con. I wasn't sure if he was just using the other two. So there are a few decisions that sort of started to cement his character as actually
his introduction was very transactional.
Everything for most of the season was transactional. But when you look back on it all, it works so beautifully for a character that is grown up in a transactional society that it's kind of
family.
In a weird way, he's learning a different kind of humanity while he's out in the slums. Like he's learning it. But and then I think Eve probably for the most part has been the one that surprised me the least. I've seen that as being, I guess it's because I know Jen really well, but the moment with the pulling the trigger was probably the biggest surprise for me for Eve.
All right. Jen, do you want to read this one?
So this one is from TimeBlink, and it is, what do you do to combat burnout?
To combat burning out in the role play? Or
No, these are just like self-help.
Oh, cool.
Oh.
So anyone got an answer for that? You'd be the most
burnout combat.
Burn hotter? Is that, no. How do you
find ignition elsewhere?
Okay.
Is my, because I was like, I call it burnout surfing and I do it constantly, but it is my nature. I've been a glutton for overworking since I was 11 or probably earlier, but that was when I could pin it down. So my answer to that question is to, at the end of the day, if you're a passionate person, you have that fuel and you want to burn it. If you just keep it all in the one place, then you're going to burn up that resource, which is your fuel as well as what is the flame. So yeah, tabletop time, starting tabletop time has been a huge refuel for me. While it's taken more energy and time, at the same time, it's been so igniting, so exhilarating. So like I think like late last year, late 2020, mid 2020, obviously, especially mid, COVID crap for everyone. That was also like a time where things were starting to feel like a bit, whatever, as far as like my stagnancy or whatever it is. And bringing back my hobby was like a real big thing. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a project or a product or whatever it is, because, obviously they're things I can get passionate about, but finding a hobby or finding a craft or a friend or a play group or whatever it is, I think you just got to find things to fuel you while you're spending your fuel. Anyway,
it's a good answer.
Thank you.
And I think
agree.
you're probably the most qualified to speak on that.
I like that.
So Dave, Sagacity Lost asks, what was on the hard drive
I actually know the answer.
that I ruined? You have to give it away now.
Do I have to give it away?
Yeah, you do. Time has passed. We've done that. You've got to...
No, this is actually really good. Like, to hear your backstory of this is as good as to learn from you as a narrator.
Well,
I
Jen,
feel
why
like.
didn't you say what it is? What was on the hard drive?
There was nothing. It was all made up. Like, the whole interaction.
The whole interaction with the hard drive was improv.
Yeah.
Entirely.
That's so cool.
Which is a really cool conversation that we had, in the fact that for
So
us
when-
it was seamless.
Yeah. Well, when you said it, it sounded like, oh, and I got this hard drive. But it came across like you got to the thing that Bernie had. So it's like you're worming your way
100%.
through this conversation and then it's just like...
But because this is where Jen was saying it comes to like a bit of a narrator tip, which is that a bad puzzle is one that the players have to find the correct answer to, because you're not looking at a logic puzzle. You don't have a journal in your video game. You don't have a map in front of you. So you need dynamic answers to problems. So if the players are forcing their way and effectively forcing their way down a path that is interesting, I shouldn't sit there and go, no, all your efforts are pointless because the key's in the third building under the cabinet. Duh. Which is really easy to do. And I've done it a lot in my time. It takes a lot of time to learn that. So the hard drive became something of, I know information, so I can put information in a way that you can access it that is outside the means that I had assumed you would look for it. Bernie has a hard drive. Okay, so the answer, I guess, to what was then going to be on the hard drive is the hard drive was information about what Desire's Dalliance, the sex shop next to the place, what their illegal operation was, which would have directly been able to connect you in to the back rooms, which some of the party ended up in. They ended up in the back room of Desire's Dalliance, but it would have taught you about the connection between Desire's Dalliance and the Glass Slipper, which would have been an entry point.
Ironically, also would have been quite useful by the end of that episode.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to tell you what all that is, but that was what was on the hard drive once the hard drive existed.
Yeah, good question, great answer.
Yeah,
really cool.
Yeah.
Dave, do you want to take the next question?
Oh my God.
Big
Hello.
Quorum hero.
Oh, the question.
Oh.
Yes.
Can we know Eve's name, Jen?
Honestly, she doesn't have one yet. It's
It was right on the tip of her tongue, and then
nope. It's something that I'm thinking about constantly every time we do a roleplay session, but for the time being, there is nothing right now, or at least I'm not going to disclose anything.
So you have it, but Eve isn't there yet.
Yeah, there are processes and thoughts, especially after having that conversation with Johnny about changing, and especially because of stuff that might be happening in season 2. Absolutely, but for now, there's nothing right now.
That's awesome. Total Fox says, if you could turn back time and change a moment or decision of your character, what moment decision would that be, and what would you do differently? I feel like we should all.
I've got one. I've got one too. So you guys go for it.
Okay.
But I will have one too.
Can we go in reverse this time?
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I could take back anything I said or did in the whole time, it was the what ended up being very memorable. It was actually the ugly Pro and Seb and the gun scene.
Really?
That scene stemmed from a whole bunch of stuff that needed to happen. Ugly needed to be reinforced that he was a bad guy, because there's been a progression to be like really pro-ugly, and it happens with anti-heroes where people kind of forget the fact that at the start of the season he just sawed a dude's arm off and he said he deserved it, and that's what people got, but no one looked into if he deserved it. So it was getting to a point I needed him to be violent, I needed him to show his dark side, but because of my insistence on making him kind of present that side, I was too ham-fisted in the kind of nuance of how he was actually trying to groom Pro and involve Seb, because what I'd previously prepared and planned is that he was being a bit more clever about that. Was too ham-fisted for Ugly to do that.
And so do you feel that as a result that the reactions from Pro and Seb were further than you wanted it to be?
Yes, which ultimately probably made the story better.
Yeah.
So at the end of the season, I can say I don't want to take anything back because the story that evolved is amazing. But as I was going through the season, that was the one thing that I kept being like, I wish I'd played that differently.
Yeah.
Until the whole story unfolded and it became worthwhile.
Cool. Good
Jen.
answer.
I'm same position as Dave, where I don't regret anything or the choices that we've made. That being said, I have two. One is getting into combat at that final scene was an absolute no-no, and I broke the rules. It's fine. And I also just rolled terribly, so that's just the luck of the dice. And the second thing was going back for that baby.
Okay.
You wish
So
you had.
I wish
or
I had
hadn't?
gone back for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eve
So-
wasn't strong enough for me. Can I? You can, at the risk of saying something a little bit too much, that Eve situation prompted me to bring up, and will be brought up in a Cogent Dev discussion, some combat stuff that led from that Eve
Oh, there you go.
fight.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll be put on the table, and there'll be some
great.
things. Yeah.
Awesome.
I don't want to give away too much, but it led to some thoughts.
Yeah. It's great. It is interesting too that we're viscerally testing Cogent still. And think I can say by the time the next campaign launches, we'll have a major update with some really exciting stuff to come out. So do stay tuned for that because, yeah, I know we've been sort of playing with the same rules of Cogent for a long time and they've been on pause for a long time. The first initial focus was to relaunch and sort of fine-tune, but now it's like, now we're developing, which is really exciting. Sorry, yeah, Rob, your answer. What would you change that Seb did?
I mean, it'd be really easy to jump to the poster scene again with the handshake, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
And I think that is because it played into the story really well. And I don't know, I guess it just kind of shows how incompatible Seb and Ugly are. And I really like that because it shows it shows the stakes of how incompatible they are.
Yeah.
And yeah, playing it was just as frustrating as I reckon it would have felt as the character.
Yeah.
But I'm super excited to see where it leads, to be honest. So I wouldn't change that. I don't know if I'd change anything, to be honest.
Come on, Rob. You got to know by now. They're not that dissimilar. You either die a Seb or live long enough to see yourself become an Ugly.
I love that.
Oh no, trust me. We've discussed this at length. They're the same person, but raised in two different scenarios.
Yeah, I love it. So did you have a specific thing or you?
I honestly don't think so. I mean, I probably wouldn't have broken into the robot factory again.
Okay, you can pick just one thing. That can be it.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know. It seemed mildly out of character. That was the only thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think mine would have to be. Well, I've got two, but they're fairly smallish ones. Mm-hmm. One would be my metagaming when I stepped away from the security point. I like that turned into a great story and learning moment. I think that was really good for viewers as well as me. So again, I wouldn't take it back, but that was one of those things.
We both got slapped for that in some comments.
Really?
It wasn't you got some comments that were like metagaming, and I said that it was metagaming, but then I got slapped in saying like, why did you treat the one critical fail as this whole scenario that was disconnected from that? And I was like, no, because my critical fail was crossing the checkpoint is going to have a horrible outcome.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter. So by avoiding it through anyway, we've explained it before, but we both were like, oh, maybe I did the wrong thing too.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because when you've got an intimate group of players that involves group storytelling and decision making, there are going to be some agreeing or disagreeing on those decisions. When you tell that story with thousands of people, the disagreeing feels a little more potent when you're the one leading the charge and making the core decision. So it's a lot of burden to carry, but you carry it well. The second one is the phone, the Skype call with the kid where I'm just like, fine, take her. And they're like, this is bad. This is not what a friend would do.
Oh my God.
Take it back. Can we stop it? And we removed the editor's note, but I was like, can we just like rewind that, pretend I didn't do that?
And we're like, no, it works too well.
Okay.
But
yeah.
What do you mean with the kid?
With what's his
Uriel.
name? Uriel, yeah. When it was just like...
Yeah, the first... Yeah,
that's who you think's on
was
the
like,
computer.
no. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, I'll find it.
That was a little sneaky, little cheeky poo move. Who is it?
I just said that's who you think's on the computer.
Because you haven't explicitly said.
You guys have just gone on this assumption that it's Uriel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oof.
Because you don't
so many
like
reveals
him.
to come.
You decided you hate Uriel, so now everything is... And in chat's the same. Everyone hates him because he talked to Eve nastily, and now everyone's like, he's the root of all evil.
I love it. All right, that was a great question. Do you want to take the next one?
Okay. I wanted to ask what happens to a person's original body when they are rebooted or given a new body. Kind of depends, really.
David Blackburn asked that one.
Yeah, it kind of depends. So does the old body... No. So the old body doesn't have the original consciousness in it. It dies. In fact, reboot versus new you, and I think there's a lot of confusion as to the two. Reboot only happens when you die. So it specifically happens on death. It doesn't trigger in any other circumstance. And that's where it uploads your body and your consciousness into a new body. New you is a direct stream of consciousness transfer and your body dies, the previous one you're in the process.
Cool. Eve, do you want to take this one?
So this is from...
It's called you Eve.
Yeah, I know. thanks for the season. If you could change something on your character sheet, would you do it? And if yes, what would it be? So, actually, Dave skips this one. Is there something?
Yeah, this has got nothing to do with me.
There's someone
change on my character sheet. I change my character sheets whenever I want. I'm the narrator. Oh, they need this skill now.
I think for Eve, I actually probably wouldn't change anything because I feel like everything I've put in, which I don't know if we want to reveal our character sheets, but everything that I put points into, I used.
Yeah.
We're probably honestly going to redo your character sheets for next season.
Oh,
anyway.
yeah, 100%. And I think
they'll need to be changed.
I was also given the opportunity to change as well. So, like, to go into, I have a point in waitressing because I got the chip to do that. So I was quite lucky where I could make some changes. So I wouldn't change anything.
Cool. Rob?
I mean, the addition of combat skills would be nice, but not really, no.
I feel like we're all feeling that a bit.
Your choice,
I
guys.
think that's the thing. And that's like, role play. We made very role play heavy characters. But at the same time, it's like when it comes to being capable, I feel like I feel like I suffered from this the most in the series. Pro was just so constantly incompetent. And sometimes it was due to the role, sometimes just due to lack of skills and the assignment. But yeah.
I feel a little bit though, like what happened is that oftentimes in lieu of knowing what to do, you lent on what is known, which is to fight. It's like a video game thing. And there were usually ways, there was like one specific, which was the Ugly 4 scene where you had to fight, but they were really weak opponents. But like the end bar fight didn't ever need to be a fight.
Yeah.
Like you were given 5 things to hack 5 robots. There were ways to like try and think around the problem that didn't happen, and I don't even know what those ways are because it's narrative improv roleplay, but I think that it always sort of lent into fight when there was no other alternative, or it felt like there wasn't, and you guys are not geared for fighting.
Yeah. Okay. You can change it on your character sheet. So I feel like you guys have sort of answered this already.
He wouldn't take imperceptive.
Do you know what? I think the answer to this question is very similar in the sense that the stuff that sucks adds conflict. Conflict is interesting. It creates resolution and triumph. Like I can say, I wish I was more perceptive, but I earned more perceptibility, and that created a really cool arc.
That's true.
Yeah. So like letting go of the headphones and deciding I'm going to pay more attention, like that was a character arc. Like I think that's cool. So no, I don't think I would personally. Philip Jackson, no questions. This classy act here. Just wanted to say thanks for the great season, jam-packed with great characters and a fantastic story. Thanks to Jazza, Rob and Jen for their much-loved player characters, and a special thanks to Dave for creating such a fun yet gritty cyberpunk world story and memorable non-player character. Looking forward to season 2.
Yeah.
Thank you for the kind sentiment.
Thanks.
Yes, very supportive of you.
This is Let Roses Burn, and they say, does Seb have a picture of Maya? Spelling. Oh, yep. And has Ugly ever seen a picture of her?
Seb should have a picture of Maya. I don't think he's shown Ugly though.
No, I definitely haven't shown Ugly. There was actually a picture of Maya in Seb's bedroom. Well, I think Dave and I briefly discussed that.
Yeah.
And, on the shared desks.
Pro saw it.
It was never really. Yeah. Otherwise, no, I don't think Ugly's seen it.
Infernum Comics has an interesting question about the next season. Will season 2 be another long-running campaign like this one, or a short one, like a one-shot?
Well, if I get my way, definitely a long-running one. I don't think we can. I feel like we've hit the point of like, okay, the gloves are off.
Yeah.
You now know what's in. Like you have a fair goal, and we're going to get to the end of that goal. I do think it will be a 2-season thing, though. I don't think there'll be a season 3.
Yep.
Unless we all feel that it's going like 5 episodes before the end. They're like, oh my God.
If the build-up is so good and the goal has grown and the capacity to achieve it,
Like if the Mars project gets going. Anyway, what was the next question?
From Blue Cat Pie, would be interesting if Pro maybe turns bad, like someone hacks him in the new season. Will there be new art of the characters as they have changed since the beginning? There will certainly. My personal approach for art, and I handle doing the commissioning and organizing all that, because I also build the thumbnails and all this stuff. So I find artists to work with and try and create a cohesive picture. I want to approach these series like books, and at the end of the day, you want to read a book that you love the cover of. So basically, I just want to find great artists that fit the styles and stories. So in answer to your question, yeah, there's going to be new art because the characters are going to be basically reborn in different ways.
Yeah.
We're going to have totally different looks and capabilities. Yeah. So
He's got a new outfit.
season 1 and that wrap-up poster and all that stuff is encapsulative of season 1. But when season 2 comes down, we're going to slam it with it's going to be a completely new chapter. So it's going to be exciting.
And the new art will definitely be all of the beach episodes. All the ones from the next book.
Can I just say too that the ability for me to do that, I started off doing that just as a personal investment, and now I can do that because we have the community support, and that is exactly the sort of thing that I'm able to keep putting back in to make all this stuff awesome for everyone, and to commission to make beautiful thumbnails. We don't have to have that, but because we get to have that, everyone gets to feel more special about it. And then with the poster, it's so fun.
It's exactly like the poster. If that goes well, that says make posters, get art commissioned of people. It's so good. I love it.
All right, and our last questioner is CCAD. Did anyone consider using a sighting of Pro as bait to get the 2 Circle members to leave the glass slipper? Didn't have to be a real sighting.
Rob, I think you mentioned this.
Yeah, I had a few different ideas, and I did mention using him as bait, but at the same time, I didn't want to put him at risk.
I'm surprised as to how quick they...
I think that's maybe one of... When we've had this conversation before about trying to plan and how we were unorganized, it comes back to the fact that we are, again, playing characters that are very roleplay heavy and not very combat efficient. So when it came, we needed a foolproof plan that we kind of didn't want to get into combat, but unfortunately that's what happened. Mm-hmm. So I think that maybe we were a bit hesitant, and we didn't want to put you in a position where, oh no, you're probably going to get into a battle that you might not survive. And lo and behold, kind of what happened to everyone else.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. You really looked after me.
Yeah.
Bye.
They just obliterated your roll. They just it was a perception roll, and it was just 6 successes or something off them. And it was you got 3 successes on your blending in, and it was just they just...
There you are.
To be fair, they were set up
it's that
aware.
guy.
They were the whole time, I feel like I adequately presented it. I pictured them both sitting in the corner, watching the whole bar the whole time, not really getting as drunk as anyone else, leaning back. They were in command of the situation.
Yeah. So what I want to do, we've taken a question from each of our patrons who posted a question. Some of them had posted more than one. We just want to give everyone equal time, but we are running out of time. So what I want to do is take a quick break to talk about a couple of things I think we all want to discuss. I think we just need to first say, Dave, who are all the Patreon NPCs?
Yes.
Out with it.
Yes.
Come on, there's got to be at least 3 that were in the season, and it's eating us up inside.
Please tell me it was the sentient.
All right.
Patron NPC reveal.
Patron NPC number 1. The best character in Reboot.
Ugly.
It's the dancing man.
Bernie Fockle.
Bernie!
Now, if I'd known I was answering this, I would have had on which exact patron it was and said thank you. But Bernie is a patron invention.
Oh, beautiful.
And he is brilliant. And that is an example of how sometimes a random character can just become so deep and so enriched in the world randomly.
Get a reaction.
There's no guarantee.
Yeah.
And it's part the character, part how it's presented, part how the players react. You never know, because some of them can disappear, some not. The second patron character, there's 3. So the second patron character is Preacher that you guys walked away from and ignored.
Yeah, I knew this one.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts because as people, as players, and who know and love our patrons, if we had known that, we would have thought, oh, let's interact with this.
But I'm so glad that we don't know the patron characters because what that tells me is that character was probably too tangential to the main plot. If I'm just being straight out there, it was too much of we're telling this story and then this whole new story is revolving around this character, because that was the whole concept of the anti-cyborg movement and his movement was a whole thing. So I think that it could have become something
a whole
that became
thing that the patrons sort of discussed with you and came up with.
yeah,
Really?
that whole thing.
So that kind of that mission was a patron mission.
The character, in a way. So this just shows
That's
how interesting
interesting.
it is.
Yeah.
The character will probably never be seen again.
Yeah.
Or will be brutally murdered by Ugly, because I'm not going to put a patron character on top of my primo NPC.
Yeah.
Ugly going to win. But it could have been something where that became a huge plot for you guys and you dove down that path, and then we would have had ages trying to get to the top of the chain and you toppling them. In the end, it doesn't look like that's the way it went, but it certainly had an impact on the story, because that led to the pro scene with the gun.
100%.
Like, it was huge.
It is huge. 3.
The third one you have barely seen.
Oh, no.
The third one is Pix, and you've never heard them by name. They are the Bespoke, who is currently operating with Rags.
Okay.
Oh.
So they're basically
Who we ran into in the toilet.
Yeah.
You ran into.
they're sort of intertwined, and you'll be seeing them a bit.
Never would have picked her.
Are you going to get new Patreons
Yeah,
for season 2?
we'll get some new Patreons for season 2.
That's so cool. And I do think it is really important that we don't know who the patrons are,
God,
because
yeah.
it can go in any direction. And it's worth noting, if you are a patron and it is a discussion with the narrator of whoever is narrating. But yeah, it's like if you're building it to with keeping the story in mind and player motivations, you're probably going to have a higher chance of having something that might vibe with our NPCs.
Yeah.
But also some people sometimes just like have their alias and the thing they're known for in their friend group, and they make an appearance, and that's a fun thing too. So it is like a way of just sort of shaping it.
But it's that thing of, what do you want out of it? Because if you want your OC in the thing, they'll probably get involved. Will they be deep? The odds, I personally feel, I don't know, but the odds are that they may not be if they feel very much like that. Whereas the random homeless guy who sells wares from a cake tray just captured in this instance. I don't know.
Okay.
You never know the answer. That's the mystery of it. But I will say, check your emails. I'd say 50% of the
We
patrons.
message the patron on Patreon and email them with their patron email. So
I'd say half the patrons I've contacted.
just make sure you have that enabled to get notified from Patreon.
Okay.
And check your email.
Please, because I want to work with you, and half
We
the
reach
patrons
out multiple times, but we
haven't ever replied to anything, and we've had to draw another person. Or sometimes with a one shot, it's just been too late.
Yeah.
Like, I've tried to get in contact with someone for a week, and then at the end of the week, it's like, well, I have to prep, and then we're filming in 3 days, so it's not going to happen.
Well, look, we're still building up efficiency, so it'll get to the place where we can give more room. But at the same time, we're very much.
I currently have one sitting there. So we have someone who got back to me, but was slightly too late for the Hobbit one shot, I think. Yeah. So I've said, next thing we run, I'll get it that I'm running. I'll get in touch with you, and then we'll work on a character for that. So we do. If you get in touch and you're a bit, we talk to you, and you'll still get a character. You get a character.
Everyone, share the moment you got most emotional in your character role in the season. Let me begin. I'm going to say the conversation with Seb's dad.
Yep.
I think the specifically referring to what you'd be willing to go, how far you'd be willing to go, and also I think that's the closest Pro got to sort of referencing his past in an open discussion, because it was his character arc moment of facing it.
It wasn't when you were going, all right, I'm ready, and then Rob said, fuck off.
Yeah, that was that was the most pissed I've been. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
All right, Rob, your turn.
Seb's a robot.
Don't lie. Don't lie,
He
Rob.
hasn't felt emotion once playing the game.
Don't lie, Rob. Rob, don't cry. You gonna be okay?
No, okay. I always go back to it, but it's the poster moment. It wasn't emotional as in upset or sad. It's emotional as in angry.
Yeah.
He wanted to kill me across the table. I could see it.
I did say emotional.
No,
I didn't say cry. I said emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that counts.
I guess also the ultimatum that Ugly gave Pro was pretty bad. And and then the absolute like shookness when Eve pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, because shookness is now an emotion.
Yeah.
we all feel it.
I guess for me it was telling Pro and Seb Eve's backstory. That was tough, and to try and role play it as a drone and not get emotional about it
Yeah.
was difficult to do, and I was so scared on how your characters would react to her because I had a feeling that you could either turn away or accept her, and I was petrified that you guys would just turn away from her.
It was certainly one of the most intense and dark chapters, but in a really important way.
Yeah.
Like, I think it really shows how much we want to go into the...
Yeah, it definitely
This
brought
whole
up a lot of like ethical talk as well, so that was kind of a very emotional scene for me.
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely two. One was the scene with Seb's dad, Oscar, and with Pro. But the other one I think that probably would topped it was me role playing as Songbird. When we were not. There was two times, but I think one of them I actually was like, we got to the end of it, and then I was like, okay, cool, tear out of the eye. Like I was actually at the point of crying because it was so hard to like dive into the shoes of like a 13-year-old girl who's been through so much stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just like, this is heavy.
Yeah. And that was early too. It was like first 3 or 4 episodes.
And I knew all of her backstory, so it was like, oof.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, let's kick it up a notch as we wrap it up.
Okay.
In rapid fire mode, we're going to read all the questions that are short enough to read quickly. The first person who can answer it, Rob gets a little bit of extra buffer time because the minor delay. Answers it. Maybe all of us, maybe one of us. All right, and we're just going in order of everyone who asked multiple questions and just going through them. So, Yellhair Triss, was it possible for Pro to get his laptop and equipment back if he pursued them?
Not a chance. He would have had the shit kicked out of him.
What was your favourite Patron NPC? Given the ones...
Bernie.
Bernie.
What was your personal moment where you were closest to breaking character due to emotions?
Already said.
Closest to breaking character.
Probably when Rob and I were going to kill each other across the table.
Yeah,
I am
agree
just
with that.
kidding. We're totally.
I don't think I think I try not to break character to the detriment of gameplay sometimes.
It would have been laughing. Sometime
Yeah.
where we made a silly joke would have honestly been the
Probably.
answer.
Were all NPCs besides Patron ones created?
Oh
by
wait, no,
Dave?
it's oh my god, this pencil has an eraser. There
Oh
you go.
my god! The pencil has an eraser.
All NPCs were created by Dave except for Patron NPCs.
That's
yes.
correct.
What are you most excited for about Sunder?
Sunder.
Oh, Sunder, my next campaign. That's a different conversation, sorry.
Whole new world.
Yeah, we don't have time to start that now. What's the missed story path from any of the one-shots campaigns that you wished had a second chance to roleplay it? You go back and make it happen.
Let me bloody play Warhammer 40k!
Were there any episode one-shots where the fans reacted in a much different way to how you thought? I thought people would be more on Pro and Seb's side after the gun scene. More people were on Eve and Ugly side than I expected. That shocked me.
But Ugly's hot.
Hey, so are Seb and Pro. There's 2 of us. Were there any episode one shots where the fans reacted? Oh no, I just read that one. It's a high intensity mode. Are there any pieces of fan art that redefined how you see a character?
Yes.
Songbird one for me.
Songbird is that I think was it Adua who did
I think so. Sitting on the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a few, but Songbird was really visualized by the fan artists to me.
100%. In fact, the poster, Songbird fan art, the reference I gave Camille was that fan art, piece of fan art. Do you know how proud of you were? Oh, stop it.
No, tell us.
Yeah, please go into excruciating detail. All right. Rodaya, do we have, there's multiple questions here. It's hard to read them.
We've already said that part.
Have we said that one?
That's not.
They're just wonderful compliments. Thank you for the wonderful compliments. All right, Time Blake. What are 2 things you love about yourself? Oh, these are nice. Like, I gotta like switch it up to like calm music. Dave, what are 2 things you love about yourself? It's still rapid fire mode. It's just a peaceful version. Jen.
That I'm always happy and I can make people smile.
Yay.
Oh, that's
Rob.
sweet.
Contemplativeness.
Yep. And
Indecision.
I am passionate and I would like to think capable.
Fine, I finally got something. I am logical and calm under pressure.
I like it. What did the final episodes go? Did the final episodes go as you expected? No.
Nope.
Yeah,
God,
pretty
no.
much. Pretty much.
Dave's like, better than expected.
Better than expected.
What social media can you follow narrated Dave and the other crew on?
Twitter and Instagram, but I haven't posted in weeks.
We'll do the thingies and
Discord
no
as
things.
well.
And yep. Sagacity lost. Other questions. What was in the room where the bloody bobby pins and that pro didn't see? What was in the room with the bloody bobby pins that pro didn't see?
What?
What was in the room with the bloody bobby pins that pro didn't see? I don't know. I've read it 3 times.
Dead women.
Okay. Sweet. That's Cyberpunk for you. Seb saved Eve rather than asking the question about Maya. Was Dave's frustration over not being able to talk in game as the robot at that moment because he was unable to ask the question like he did with Pro?
What?
What's the question? Was
Seb saved-
Dave's frustration over not being able to talk in game as the robot at that moment?
Oh, when I was the robot and I couldn't. No, it was because I wanted the gang. I was rooting for the gang as much. It sounds weird because I get to decide what happens, but I'm trying to be impartial when I'm narrating. I was rooting for you guys and I'm like, how can I make this work? Oh God, it can't talk.
Yeah. Big Gorham hero. If not, then... if not Eve's name, for each of you, describe a snapshot of a scene that you would want an art commission of. That's a cool one.
Eve buying burritos.
Eve buying burritos.
Or Eve and Pro like sitting up late eating burritos, but Eve can't eat, so.
Just ugly in bed.
Definitely Seb and Eve, or Seb dragging Eve through the back door of the shop, and they're just being like greedy, glaring, glowing eyes staring at them, being like, "What do we have here?" That scene, just like I see behind. Yeah,
Good pick.
Yeah.
I feel like a pro Eve hug after that, either one of the dark moments or when she was like
Well, there's the bar.
Rescued.
It was the bar where I was like, "Do you require a hug?"
Yeah.
And Seb was like, "No," and you were like, "Yes."
Fuck yeah, yeah. That it was like one of those moments. Yeah. Did you pick one?
It was a joke, but I'll go with I would actually love to see Zhang at her computer, like
Her room.
in her like Monster Energy drink filled room. That would be really cool.
Cool. Total Fox, did you guys have a special routine before each stream? And if so, what was the routine? Pure chaos. Always panic. Always these green screens are freaking annoying. Always powder for the greasy people.
Yeah, powder.
And maybe a drink just to calm the nerves.
And often just chatting excitedly.
yeah.
Pretty much.
Just always daydreaming, always pumped because we love
Hype
this.
each other up.
So excited. What is
It's
your
always a nice little time.
Always, yeah. It really is. This is our game group. This is like we work hard with Tabletop Time, but really our campaign is like our unwind, and it's our hangout with you guys, which is so special and fun. That it's like these people care about this with us. It's like the biggest, coolest game group ever. What was your biggest? Well, we messed that up moment from Dave's point of view. They messed that up. I don't know.
So when you felt that you messed up.
When
Your
what?
biggest when you felt like you messed up moment.
Yeah.
Well, I felt your biggest we messed up moment, funnily enough. There's so many of them. But one of them in particular was when she started smacking Vinod with that goddamn arm. And I'm like, just put the sack over his head and walk him to Ugly.
Yes! That was I feel like that's my answer. That was
so chaotic.
Just kept
You're
going.
Like, you had completely convinced him. You're just like, yeah, I'll go wherever you take me. And then you're like, we need to beat him over the head.
I knew we had so we had to get him unconscious somehow because he's not going to willfully walk into Ugly's place and like, I'm going to put a bag on your head. Why? Like,
all right,
so good.
All right, Rob.
All right, Jen, did you have one?
Mine was the water. Trying to wake you up in the morning. I was like, I gotta get some water. Dave's like, there's no water in the apartment. I'm like, screw it. I go outside and he's like, you find some dirty air conditioner water. Just throw it in.
Are there any things that you do to help you stay in character and make decisions as your character? I personally have no trouble staying in character. I need to get better at getting out of character to understand the game and the party. I think I need to learn to get out of my head more to make effective decisions in character or ask the right questions out of character?
I think being in a group that is very roleplay heavy helps a tremendous amount. I can play D&D with my friends, but it's not the same as playing with you guys. Like,
Yeah.
It's a completely different experience. So being hyped in that environment
I
helps.
think having that,
Oh, yeah.
being in a different world in
Music?
your ears and music,
Yeah.
and yeah, it really does. It's
100%.
transportative. Did you have one, Rob?
Very transformative. I did, and now I blanked again.
Body language for me.
Yeah.
Characters that are consistent actually have like a
Got
physicality
it.
to them that when I do it, it allows me to get into them. So like you'll notice pretty much whenever I'm ugly, I open up and lean back, and whenever I'm incongruent, it's in and like low, and they all kind of set me into that.
It's
mood.
so good as a player because it like totally transforms how we interact with the characters. Makes it really a unique experience. Did you have one, Rob? Or are we moving?
Yeah, my social awkwardness always makes me look down, so I'm always looking at my character sheet, and I've got scribbles and doodles all over it, but I've also got notes in the margins about how I react to certain characters. I've actually got a tally that is comparing Eve and Pro at the moment. I'm not going to tell you what it represents, but Pro's winning.
Oh, they'll beat that out of you.
David Blackburn's question went into more detail, but I think Dave answered a lot of that in his answer on the reboot versus New You. But he also asked another question. Was Karan and Bagrov? Is that what?
Kanan,
Kanan
yeah,
and
yep,
Bagrov, the same two that were chasing Pro at the start of the
Yes, they
series.
were.
Yeah. If so, why did they effectively go into hiding in the glass slipper at the end? Why were they there for the whole season?
Because borderline, they were not sitting idly. They just had more than one job to do.
Okay.
One of their jobs was finding you. Once that hit a brick wall, they just went and did the rest of what they needed to do.
Okay. My speed is thank you. If everything had went well on the droid store heist, what upgrade would Eve be rocking now? Oh,
Just more data, basically.
Okay.
I don't think that she ever, at that stage, wanted physical upgrades. She's
Yeah.
very clinging to her body, so it would have just been more, more brain types.
yeah. What was the decision that affected had the most consequences on the story from the narrator and player point of view? Can I ask how much of an impact that boat persuasion roll that we triumphed?
That.
You reckon?
I don't think
Because that was the biggest, like...
the path that you'd gone down, you had basically burnt every single bridge you had to going. The plot of Reboot could have gone into the New You and the Reboot and all of that high-end corp tech stuff.
Yeah.
And it could have gone into the slums. And at that point, you'd burnt every connection to the high end with the whole, there was no way in. And then, boom,
Yeah.
you made the ultimate connection. So now that plot is open to you. So that's huge.
That's cool.
You don't have to explore it, but the door is open to like the sort of high concept cyberpunk plot that you might not have thought was there.
Yeah. Thank you, Ricky Dog, for your kind words. Jazza, you've spoken vaguely about the future of Jazza Studios. Can we have any more hints about possible future projects? Certainly, once we have established the new studios, we're in the throes of chaos right now, so we can't really focus on future projects until we re-establish current projects. But yeah, there's a lot of exciting stuff in the works. Reboot minis when? Oh, it's definitely brewing, maybe thinking about it. But yeah, we'd definitely like to do that at some point. Maybe season 2 or season 2.
I mean, I think at the very start we said that even if that's too lofty a goal, maybe one day doing like a best of our, like a pack of 1 or 2 characters from each setting or something.
Yeah. Any tips for staying focused and motivated on creative pursuits? I'm the king of getting distracted.
Repetition.
Yeah, sorry, there's no easy answer. It's a muscle. Exercise the muscle.
Remove the distraction if you can.
If focus is the thing you struggle with, that is like struggling to lift the weight. At the end of the day, you just keep doing it and you get better at it. And it's hard to get the focus sometimes, but you just got to claw at it and stick to it. Put on a good audiobook or song session. Try and find the flow.
Yeah.
I'd say dig at what it is that's making you want to do it in the first place. And if you can find that and realize to what level that matters to you, if you find that sits very high on the priority list, you suddenly start to move other things to make way for that.
Cool. I think that is all of the rapid questions. That was a lot.
Yeah.
But so was season 1. So that feels fitting.
It's heavy, man. Hey, can we at least is the next campaign on the scale of like a puppy playing and running around chasing its tail to Reboot, where is the next campaign going to lead? Like, where are we sitting? Reboot being as dark as it was.
Oh, so you're
Are
talking
we gonna be
tone.
as tonally dark as Reboot?
I don't think.
Or closer
I
to
don't think
puppy?
as dark, but more there. I'd say if that's a 10, mine
Yeah.
will probably be an 8.
Ooh, yeah.
I
good,
think
good.
there's got to be. I think the thing that I'm hoping to lean into a bit is a ruthlessness between NPCs and players making choices that have consequences. I want to be a little Game of Thronesian in that way, in that the world will react or act the way that it does, whether you like it or not. So you got to know enough about the world and your character to make choices with confidence, or at least enough to know that you're going to have to deal with consequences. I know. Reboot does that a lot in terms of its tone, but rather than being more dark focused in tone, it would be more like consequence and culture focused.
I feel like what you're suggesting is more, it's like similar but a bigger scope. I have a feeling that we're going to be able to have bigger impacts on the meta world.
Yes.
Whereas Reboot, it's far more your small fish in a big city.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
With the continent that, I'm eager to help you guys see, I think you'll sort of see more towns and cities over the course of a campaign.
Will I get an encyclopedia to read?
I am working on one
I'm gonna
currently.
consume that.
I have written the timeline. I've been working on the lore for 7 years, but not working on it actively. But been thinking about it in pieces. But I have written the world timeline, and it's fairly long. It spans 700 years. The world timeline in its current age. So all the different cultures are fairly clearly fleshed out, and we will tuck
be
into
spicy.
that. Yeah. So if you want to get the lowdown on that earlier, follow us on Patreon, and of course they're the people who have asked us these questions and also a huge part of supporting everything we're doing. But as a you, by watching and liking and subscribing, also anyone who's ever subbed on Twitch or buys a poster or merch, thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
This has just been
Thank you very much.
absolute honour. This is our putting Reboot in a little box with a bow on it.
Season 1.
What a
Put it
season.
put it on the shelf.
Think
What a
good.
season.
Oh, come on. We're gonna have a little, we're gonna open the lid of the box and peek in, and there's gonna be little swimsuits in there for the beach episode.
Love it. All right. Thank you all so much for watching and supporting us. Bye.
Wait, I want to show him my Udi.
What is it?
So Twitch, you
It's amazing, Rob. Thank you.
I love it.
Sign off with Rob Zudi.